Welcome to the Mid Am Podcast. We're your host. I'm Tyler Munds. And on the other side of the screen from me is Nathan Furumasu.
Hello.
This is the first episode of the podcast. Oh, sorry. I
No,
see where
it just
it's
bulldozed me.
new. We're talking over each other.
The fresh relationship.
Yeah. This is the first episode of the pod. So we'll dive into you know what we want the podcast to be about, what we both hope to be able to give and take away from the podcast. And then on the back half of the episode, I will be interviewing Nathan. So we have an opportunity for the listeners to, have a chance to meet half of Midiam. So I guess to get us started, Nathan, why did you or do you want to start a podcast about golf?
Yeah.
This is
Well,
not an
I
interview
like to.
question. This is just
No,
for
not
us
at
to
all. Yeah,
kind
no.
of riff.
Yes. Well, let's see. I have been around golf all my life. I really just enjoy talking about it, and my wife doesn't always enjoy listening to all of my harebrained ideas. Uh, and the things that I'm learning off of YouTube or whatever social media. And Tyler and I have known each other sort of for a little while just through social media. And I thought, oh, he's good to talk to. He seems like a nice guy. So why don't I see if he wants to talk? And,
You're in
you
for a
had a.
surprise, man. I'm not a nice guy.
Yeah, that's kind of what I just like talking about golf. I say this all the time. I could talk about golf all day long. So why not record myself and see if anybody wants to listen? Sounds really
Yeah, no, I
narcissistic when you say.
you said it, not me. Um, yeah, no, I agree. I think that I'm in a similar boat. I love golf. I love everything about golf. I have an unhealthy relationship with golf. Um, I don't have a lot of close friends who are as into golf as I am. I have a lot of friends that like golf, and so, one of the things that over the last few years has helped me kind of blossom my love for golf is social media. It's where we first started interacting and met, and eventually met up and played. And then, it's progressed to this point. And, kind of, I feel like this is the next natural extension is like, hey, it'd be great to set aside some time every week for us to just kind of nerd out about golf. And specifically for me, I have some goals around trying to play more competitive golf and just be a better player. And so, and I think, you have expressed kind of a similar, a similar desire, maybe not so much tournament play, but certainly you want to improve. And we're
No,
both,
definitely. I feel like I'm a little bit behind you. Like I'm kind of coming into a place where maybe you were a year or two ago, but I'm on
mhm.
the same trajectory. I've always wanted to, start playing more elite amateur events and get that little bit of that competitive golf again because it's just different and it's fun.
Yeah, absolutely. It's I would say, our perspective is somewhat interesting, in that we are both kind of like we're in that limbo range of being like pretty good players. That high single digit handicap, or even to like single digit handicap, like that is such a purgatory of golf because you have tasted greatness, but you can also go out and fire like an 87. And like that's a tough thing to swallow.
Yeah, agreed.
So,
Agreed.
for me personally, it's like, hey man, I want to really bump my floor up significantly. I know how good I can be. I
Hmm.
know like where my ceiling is. I know I'm capable of going out and probably birding every hole. It's a little,
Mm.
foreshadowing into a future episode, Vision 54. Uh,
Yeah.
but I know that I am capable of going out there and hitting a lot of really good shots. It's just like, how many of those good ones can I string together? How many mistakes can I avoid? How many mistakes can I come back from? And so, I've spent personally, like the last 14 months or so kind of grinding and getting better. And I have gotten better. I definitely have. I've dropped my handicap probably 4 strokes, or not probably. I have
Mhm.
dropped my handicap 4 strokes in this past summer. But I want to get better. And I think part of that is accountability. It's having someone to bounce ideas off of and express some goals, and then have, for us to be able to kind of check in with each other. And then the other aspect of it is the kind of collective knowledge base, and like, hey, what are you reading, what are you seeing, what are you working on in your game, what can I maybe glean from that in my own game? Because the interesting thing about golf is that um it doesn't, like improving or finding that little thing that's going to resonate with you and maybe, help you break through this wall. It doesn't necessarily have to come from like, Sean Foley or, insert celebrity teaching pro here. It could come from like some, mid handicap player, like talking about a lesson that they did, they took, and they were doing this one thing, and you're just like, oh my God, that's it. That's what I've been missing. So just having an opportunity to kind of bounce ideas off each other, talk through stuff. And again, just having like this dedicated time to just sit down, talk golf. And our game specifically, I just think, it's going to be beneficial. And we have both said it, that if there's no one that listens to this other than ourselves listening back to make sure, nothing went wrong before we upload, like we're still going to get a ton of value out of this, because we're going to be able to talk about golf, which is something that we
Definitely.
love to do.
Definitely.
Um,
Yeah, I can definitely second a lot of those points, specifically like I don't have a ton of close friends. I mean, I don't have a ton of close friends, like full stop. But then on top of that, close friends who play golf and are like a little bit degenerate in the
yeah,
amount of golf that we consume, or golf knowledge that we consume, or swing theory, or what have you. So as we're getting older, which is kind of another unique aspect to maybe our show a bit, is the stage of life that we're in, where we're not like young 20 somethings running and gunning, but we're also not like career family men, sort
yeah,
of, or at least we don't feel like it. I mean, I guess technically I am, because I have a family and a career, but I don't feel like I'm quite there yet. But you get into this age range, and friendships are hard, and you have to be intentional with them, and a podcast is a wonderful way to, yeah, have that accountability to sit down and like, hey, we're going to set aside an hour just to talk with someone about something that we both love, and cultivate this relationship. And even if, to take your last statement one step further, even if neither of us get better, we'll have a we'll have a friendship out of this.
God,
Provided,
that's
or well, so long as we can stomach one another after, who knows, 6 episodes.
at least, yeah.
At least we'll find
Studio
out.
booked. Studio booked
Yeah.
6. So we got to get 6 out.
We can get six.
Uh, yeah, yeah, I 100% agree with all of that. I would say, the I think we might not be giving ourselves quite enough credit. I do think that us talking will be beneficial to other folks listening. I just think we're setting the bar low.
Yeah.
You undersell, over deliver. That's
Over deliver. Yep.
the name of the game. Over deliver.
And
Yeah.
we're gonna get better. I mean, let's be honest. We're gonna get better because we're both uh, putting in the work and talking about it with one another, and it's just a touchstone to come back to with all of our various attempts at improving, whether that's on the fitness side, or on the technical side, or on the skill side, or on like just playing the game and scoring. Like,
Hmm.
just having that person to process with, is going to help rather than, thinking, well, I guess I think I kind of putt pretty well that day.
Yeah.
It's
Well, golf's as much as, when you watch on TV, like professional golf, it is portrayed or presented as this like very solitary game, but golf is a team sport. Like those players out there, they're not by themselves. They have a caddy, they have a sports psychologist, they have, a trainer, they've got a physical therapist, they've got a community of other high level tournament players that are practicing and playing together. So, when you see Scotty Scheffler out there, number one in the world, it's not just Scotty Scheffler on an island. Granted, he's the one hitting all the shots, and that shit is super super impressive. But
yeah,
but like to say that he's by himself out there doing all that, that's a little disingenuous. And so I think that like for us to and for anyone, I mean, this goes for anyone out there. Like, hey, if you want to get better at golf, like it's going to be hard to do it by yourself. And that's not necessarily saying you need to go hire a bunch of coaches. You don't.
yeah,
There's a ton of great resources out there now with the internet, and everything that comes along with that. But like, dude, if you want to get better, like surround yourself with people who are like minded. All the tropes. Play with better people. But
definitely.
to your
People need
point,
people.
you have to be intentional about it. And that's what we're doing here. We're being intentional about it. So
Yeah,
I think that pretty well encapsulates, what it's going to be about. Mid-am obviously is a shot at how old we are. I'm 33,
36.
and getting older every day. So, yeah, we're not, yeah, the body hurts a little bit more every day I wake up. So, um,
Definitely. I was thinking of, I think I mentioned this to you when I was trying to think of like a tagline for our podcast. I was saying something like aged, refined, and past their prime. So I
yeah,
was like, that
it's
pretty well
about right.
encompasses it. It hurts because I don't want to say I'm past my prime, but also I'm past my prime. Maybe not in
Yeah.
golf.
Yeah, I just came to the realization that next year, or maybe even this year, I don't. Maybe my math's not great. That it'll be 10 years since I graduated college, which I feel like,
Ooh, oof.
yeah, it's tough. So,
That's a pill to
great,
swallow.
great night to, yeah, and I'm having to swallow a lot more of those now because, you got
Oh,
to get your supplements and anyway.
oh
All right, so we've talked a little bit about what the podcast is about, but you don't know who we are, so let's address
no, and you
that.
you definitely don't know who I am. You might know Tyler more because you live your life a bit more publicly on
I
social
do,
media than I do.
I do.
I'm
I'm a
somewhat of a recluse on my personal social media.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I do put myself out there a little bit more, but that's not to say that there aren't some mysteries to be learned about me. So, but
Mm,
we'll get there at a later date. I am more
mm.
interested, Nathan, in learning a little bit more about you. So we have 8 interview questions. We're going to kind of go through them and start with, how did you get started in golf, and what is your current relationship with the game?
Yeah, let's see. My story is pretty typical. As far as my dad randomly got into golf and he started going more. I think it was because he was playing with some work buddies. He started going to the driving range and I started tagging along. I pretty quickly surpassed him.
Mm,
Um, I was fairly athletic, just kind of generally as a kid. I did gymnastics for a long time. I didn't play a lot of like school team sports, but did gymnastics for a long time. Lots of things came pretty naturally, and golf, I got decent, I would say, fairly quickly as like a seventh, eighth grader. So I picked up the game about then, and then my high school had a golf team, and I tried out for it, and it was a small school, so it was kind of a guarantee that I would make the team at least. Um, but yeah, so that got me around the game, and I just I just fell in love with all aspects of it. Um, the pursuit of trying to get better at a craft has always been something that is was like an itch of mine. I have a whole lot of hobbies, and I get really passionate about learning everything I can about them. Sometimes then they kind of fall to the wayside, and I always come back to golf.
Hmm.
So that's basically how I got into it. It wasn't like I think I did one junior camp or something. I don't remember anything about it other than the fact that I won the putting contest at the end of the week,
Hell yeah.
because I was a baller early on. Uh, I had one of those. I still have the putter though. This is the fun factoid. Do you remember? Do you ever see the plop putters? They're
I don't think
they're
so.
like a little all brass, simple like blade head, center shafted. They've got two sound ports in them. They make the funniest noise when you roll it.
Oh,
But anyway, still have it. It was my dad's
is
that I
it
used
is it ever
forever.
going to make its way back into the bag?
Oh, absolutely not. No,
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 dude, that's got some good
no.
juju. I don't know.
It does. I don't know. It does. I used to like when I was a kid. I used to like. I don't know what I was. Obviously, I didn't have any instruction. I was just doing whatever felt natural. I got so like hunched. Just imagine like Jack Nicklaus. Just like I was
Mm,
so hunched
he's
over and
pretty
like
good.
got my head. He was, he's decent.
Yeah,
I got my head down like real low because I was like, I gotta see it, and I kind of just like just with the hands, just kind of
real
and
real wristy.
dude, I stroked that thing. That sounded wrong. But anyway, so yeah, that's
Nice.
kind of my first like I would say specific golf memory as well.
Mm,
And that's kind of how I got into it. From there, I continued playing. I was fortunate enough to play for a small NAIA college school. Um, I got it just kept around the game. I just wanted to stick close to the game, play as much golf as I could. Um, of course, we all have aspirations to be a professional and yada yada yada. But um, I was never there, or
mhm,
at least I felt like I knew what I was capable of, but it's never come to fruition because I was getting my own way, which has
yeah.
been, a path of discovery, to say the least. So then, I graduated college, kept playing for fun here and there, but not didn't really do a whole lot. I've worked in the industry a little bit as like a just in, like in a pro shop. I've worked on grounds crew before. I was a caddy when I was a younger kid. Like I've kind of done anything and everything around golf. I've coached golf back at my alma mater. Actually, I coached for a couple years
Mm,
um, as an assistant, and that was a lot of fun. Just again, trying to get back to be around the game as much as I could. Currently, I don't do any of that, and I just try and play golf,
yeah.
and hopefully play more and more. That's part of my goals for the coming years. Play more golf. So, yep,
What's your
I'd say
handicap right
that's
now?
right now. Oh gosh, 6 point. It just came down because I played a halfway decent round with my buddy, using his irons, which was an extra slap in the face. 6.4. So
6.4. All right.
yeah,
Oh,
I think the
that's right.
lowest
You sent your irons off to Palmer?
Palmer. Yeah, so there he's gonna
No free
take him wrong.
ads. That's it.
Yeah, no, never mind.
Speaking of which, this episode of Mid Am is brought to you by our sponsor, Our Day Jobs.
That's
We don't have
right.
we don't have a
Yeah, or
sponsor.
probably our wives who are
Our wives, yeah.
okay with us ignoring them for a couple hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, cool. I That's pretty it's cool that you were able to stick around the game through college and, that way. Like that's actually smart. Like,
Yeah.
'cause I
Yeah.
know a lot of
I
guys that
was
would is that D3? Would that be like D3?
no NAIAs. I mean, yeah, they're I would say they're comparable as far as like the skill level. It
Okay.
depends on the sport, also a little bit, but yeah, NAIA is like the private school
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
kind of um, conference or league, I guess. I don't know how to explain it. Um, and yeah, I got fortunate. It was a small school. They were just adding golf as an actual like school
Like a
sponsored
like a varsity sport.
program. like a
Yeah.
program. Yeah, up until then it was just a club.
Got it.
So I was kind of one. I was like their first new recruit, technically, I
Mm.
guess, as a freshman coming in. So that was, yeah, it was cool, but it afforded me a lot of opportunity to just keep playing and play all over, and yeah, it was good.
Well, speaking of competitive golf, which it sounds like you've had plenty of experience, describe your last competitive golf experience, or most recent, I should say.
Yeah, most recent. I had to think about this one when we were kind of when we were talking about questions. My most recent, I'll call it competitive because it is. It is. I played in um, like a member guest tournament this year
Yeah,
with a buddy of mine.
those can get
Yeah,
competitive.
they can give competitive. He and I as a team have not been historically have not been very competitive in this tournament. But it's still like, a real round of golf where you have to putt out and you keep your score and
Yeah.
yada yada yada. So, and you got to bring you want to bring your best game. So that was probably my last competitive experience. It was a bit lackluster. That's
Mm.
due to a handful of reasons. Mainly, I think, just that I haven't played much in the last 3 or 4 years. Um, I have been in grad school and didn't have time. So I think this year I had a whopping 12 rounds or something
Mm.
total. 12 rounds
We're gonna
posted.
we're gonna
So
improve on that next.
yeah, yeah. So, I feel like I'm constantly knocking off the rust, but that's also an easy excuse for poor play. So I
Yeah.
also just didn't play great.
Um. What? Okay. So you had mentioned your first memory of winning that putting contest in the junior camp, your first real golf memory. But what has been your most intense golf memory?
Mm. Intense is a tricky word because it can kind of
Yeah.
take it a few different ways.
Oh, it could be
The way
bad,
that,
man.
yeah, it could be really bad. Um, and I have a handful of those to choose from. But I decided to look on the bright side
There
and
you
went
go.
with intense as in like my strongest, my
Yeah.
my most powerful memory that I can recall, like the smell of it, the sound of it, the feels. And it was a buddy's golf trip that I took out to Sand Valley in Wisconsin. And we went around the short course there, the sandbox,
Hmm.
one afternoon, and we decided we were just gonna like keep rounding until somebody hit a hole in one. It took us about 4 times around,
Jeez.
and it was awesome. Like the it was the perfect like late summer type of evening where the sun seemed to just kind of hang right on the horizon forever, and we're out there barefoot, just music blaring. We all had like
God.
2, 3 clubs, just wedging it around. There was libations being, you know, consumed. There was like kind of a running KP, and it was just like it's the stuff that memories are, dipped in sepia tones and
Oh yeah.
and framed and made of. And so it's a pretty intense one. Like I can still almost feel the way the turf felt under my
Yeah.
feet, um, and the swing just felt butter because everybody was so relaxed and just having a great time. And yeah, it's pretty intense, but in a good way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like every sense was engaged.
Right.
Yeah, like you can taste the air. Olfactory is just going nuts.
Mm,
That's good, man. Yeah, that I've shit, dude. I feel like I was there. I feel
right.
like
Yeah.
that might be my most intense golf memory now.
Now it is. Perfect. Well, good. I'm glad I could
Thank you.
teleport you there.
Yeah, shoot. I feel like I owe you money.
All right.
What's life? You mentioned you finished grad school recently. So what's life like outside of golf?
Yeah.
What are you doing when you're
Um,
not playing or thinking about golf?
Yeah, there's a couple of easy highlights there. I'm married and I have a daughter, and we have one on the way. So family life is
Congrats.
a wonderful thing. Yes, thank you. Um, So yeah, family life is a wonderful thing. My kid's in school, so we're doing the whole dad thing, sitting down doing homework in the afternoons and evenings, playing. I take her to the driving range every now and again, but she just wants to play with the cat that lives there, which fair. I get it.
Yeah,
That's
it's
cool.
not bad.
But we've got a nice little tradition where we go, and then like she plays with the cat. She yeets on a couple of golf balls, and then heads and sides and pick out a candy bar or something like that, and we sit and eat it and hang out. It's cool. I don't actually get to hit golf balls though when we go very often.
You don't go for
Um,
you.
no, it's not for me. Um, but yeah, so that I professionally am a chiropractor. So I finished my doctorate last year and have been practicing. Joined a practice here in my local town and work with some I would say I guess mentors initially who are now more like peers and kind of friends because I used to work there previously as a massage therapist,
Oh,
and then I went
gotcha.
to grad school and then turned around and came back and worked. Um, so shout out Josh, Sean, Emily. You're not listening, but if you were,
Not yet.
yeah, not yet.
Not
Josh
yet.
Josh was there in Sand Valley
Oh, nice.
Lupin. So he hopefully was also just taken in a time machine. Um, aside from that, I guess the low hanging fruit is I make leather goods. And
Yes,
because
you
I love
do, and you're
golf,
pretty
I
good
make
at
leather
it.
golf things. Um, so yeah, I'm in my little basement shop recording right now, um, next to my large leather sewing machines and all my knives and tools and leather and stuff like that. You may know me as Thistle Leather Goods. I'll just say that. Um, this is probably the first time many of you have heard my voice, if you know who I am on
Via
Instagram.
Instagram.
That's
Peek
the
behind the
only place.
screen. We're breaking the fourth wall today, man. This is
I
big.
know it. I know it. I was honestly, I had to consider like, do I want to do a podcast? And people are gonna know me now. That's weird.
It's tough, dude.
Because
That
yeah, up until
parasocial
now,
thing, it's
you know,
weird.
it's
It's
I
real
can't
weird.
even imagine. I've heard stories from you that's just kind of
Yeah.
scary.
Yeah. And I'm not
Um,
like a woman either. So I mean, imagine if we were women,
yeah,
even
I
worse.
mean, you still get a lot of requests for feet pics.
I do, yeah. I mean, but that's like a paid service. That's a different thing.
Yeah, that's fair. Fair. Yeah, so that's pretty well encompasses most of my time outside of golf. And of course, while I'm doing all of those things, I'm also thinking about my position at the top of the backswing or something stupid like that.
Of course.
So yeah,
As everyone does. Well,
yeah,
getting back into to the golf then. What are the just like a job interview, what are the strengths and what are the weaknesses of your game right now? Or, historically?
yeah. I think we made this joke earlier, where it's just like, or well, when we were talking about this question, just, well, I just care. I care too much. I'm too much of a perfectionist,
Yeah.
which honestly is kind of a golf thing, and it
Yeah.
really friggin' sucks to be a perfectionist or be that invested in golf. Um, it cuts you to the core sometimes. This game, but we'll start with strengths. I carrying forward from my first core memory as a golfer, I actually do believe myself to be a pretty good putter. Um, it's always just been something I've really enjoyed.
Mm.
Um, there's a Ben Crenshaw quote that I heard one time where somebody asked him about putting, surprise. And he just kind of like looked at him with that weird, like, wizened stare that he does. And he goes, I just like to see the ball roll. And that just stuck with me. I don't remember when I heard that, but it's always stuck with me, and it's just like, "Huh, I do really enjoy, like, the way the ball will just kinda, like it looks like it's just Velcroed to the turf when
Mm.
it's rolled
Mhm.
well, and it just has this, like it looks like it's spinning faster than it should be for the amount of ground it's covering. Oh, it's a beautiful thing. And so I've kinda chased that a lot, um, just because I enjoy seeing it. I enjoy the sensation of it, and I think green reading is a really it's an art, and it's a fun thing to do, and I've always really enjoyed that portion of the game. Also, it's really satisfying because putting is because it's when the ball goes in the hole,
Yeah.
ideally.
The whole
Um,
point of the game.
the whole point of the game, the whole goal, um, is to hit that thing there. So, fortunately, I feel like that's been a strength of my game for my whole life. That's all the other parts have kind of waxed and waned, but putting has always been like, okay, I know I can roll the rock. The problem is that I pump 2 OB before even getting to
And
the
then you roll
green.
in that double bogey
That's right.
save.
Mm. I have made hundreds of thousands of feet of putts for triple bogey. Let me tell you. Um, uh, so I guess that also answers the second half of that question. My weakness is definitely the tee game.
Mm.
Um, I would love to hit it longer. Everybody would love to hit it longer, but I also know from a statistic standpoint that like I hit it long enough that I should be able to score better. The
Yeah,
problem
well,
is
your
that I
your
hit it.
swing speed's like 113 miles an hour, isn't it?
That's kind
Or
of my
something.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm like
So that's
110 cruising right now, so
pretty
like
long.
I could get it up to like 113 ish. Um, and yeah, of course, I'd like to be a little faster. I'd like to be a little more efficient. Wink, something we've been talking about lately. But but the problem is that it's 113 miles an hour left and right,
Yeah.
predominantly left. I actually don't know what the right side of some courses looks like, because it's been a hook. Let me tell
Yeah.
you. So I fought that my whole life, just getting well, let's dig in. Getting a little too ahead of it with the shoulders and the hips and the body, and leaving the arms and the club behind, and getting a little stuck, and then a little
And then
flippy to
saving
save
it.
impact. And
Yeah.
I have put up scary face to path numbers on a TrackMan before. Like it glitches a little bit, and the screen kind of like just shows this like smiley face with the dead X eyes. Um, But and of course, what do you do when you hit a hook? You try and hit it. You try and swing out to the right to not hook it, or play for the hook, and that makes you hook it worse.
Yeah.
Um, so I've spent many a time beating my head against a wall trying to figure out how to change that face to path relationship, and gone around and around. And I know what I need to do, but I just never manage to uh, be diligent enough with it. It's something that I've really committed to over the last year to getting better with, and like do the things I know I'm supposed to do. It was like a diet, like, okay, I know I'm
Yeah. Yeah.
supposed to eat my greens and not zebra cakes or whatever. Um, not
Right.
just anything out of the Little Debbie section. Um, but I know I need to try and get more synced up with the arms in transition, and which means I need to take it back a little quicker to kind of create that time and that space for transition and get the arms more synced up with the body, so that way I can turn through and have my release through the impact be more rotational versus my hands throwing away all the angles into ulnar and extension, depending on what wrist you're talking about, and eliminating some of the supination and the face closure rates and yada 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 blah. Um, so anyway, left is a problem, and I want to sort that out. And
All
it
right.
costs a lot of strokes. It sucks to
Yeah.
be
You
putting
can't talk
to
to a
save
you
the.
can't talk to a hook, man. Yeah, that's one
No,
thing
not at
I've
all.
learned. I've struggled with the same thing. So it's yeah that I I told my instructor, not that I don't want to steal time, but the first time I met with my instructor, he's like, "What do you want to do?" I'm like, "I never want to see the left side of the golf course ever again."
Yeah, yeah. Which I wholly relate to, and I also know statistically it's just not a realistic want,
No,
but but it's a good. The goal to become more neutral pathwise or face to pathwise is a wonderful thing. So it's not a reason to not try. Yeah,
what do you?
I think that pretty well sums it up. It's the main weakness.
Yeah. So, in in trying to or attempting to improve to build up that weakness into, not necessarily a strength, but at least, not a detriment to the game. What do you see as, a challenge in preventing you from improving, whether it's that specific thing or it's just, improvement as a whole?
Yeah. I think all my barriers, we could say, barriers to improving are more just our situation in life, this mid-am life where,
Yeah.
dude, we've got jobs, we've got family. It's the timepiece that, like, I can carve out a I'm pretty good at carving out little snippets of time. It's not a full course meal, but I can get a little snack of of
Right.
golf in there a bunch of times, multiple times throughout the day. I've got a net and a mat in my backyard, so sure, I step out and take 5 minutes and make air swings or whatever a
Yeah.
handful of times throughout the day. Um, but I, I'm I've become fairly convinced over the last year that I just need to play more golf and really get a handle on what it feels like to score. Because that's been something that I've struggled with my whole life. I've played a lot of golf swing, is the common thing to say nowadays, but not a lot of golf. And I've known, it's like I know there's this way to be out there that's better. And I know it exists, but I just haven't quite figured out how to get from here to there, sort of thing. So and I just don't play enough to make that
Yeah.
transition, make that leap. Um, so yeah, I would
Yeah.
say
We got to
that's
get,
probably my biggest challenge. It's just I need to
yeah.
play more, and time is tough.
Yeah, absolutely. We got to get you out on the course more. But as, yeah, adults with careers and families and responsibilities, it's learning to be very efficient in the way that you practice and play, is incredibly important, and that will certainly be one of the themes of the of our discussions.
Yeah.
Um, is going to be
Have we mentioned? I feel like did we glaze over the fact that we really hope to have a lot of guests on who are either who have been successful in these things that we're trying to do, people who have played at these elite levels, um, to kind of reinforce, I think, what you mentioned in part of our just earlier discussion earlier in the podcast. We were talking about just the communal aspects of it, and just we want to draw from other people, not just ourselves.
mm,
So
yes, we
yeah,
did not mention
I feel
that,
like
but it's a great point.
I feel like
Yeah,
we should.
we're we're by no means experts. Anytime anyone has ever asked me for swing advice, I tell them I'm the worst person in the world to give you swing advice. And that is that it just for anyone out there, that goes for you too. You're the worst person in the world to give swing advice. So just don't do it.
That's right. I do it all
Don't
the
do
time.
it. Don't give swing
I
advice.
should stop.
I don't
It's
want
a
to hear
problem.
it.
That's
Yeah.
my biggest weakness. Yeah,
I don't want to hear it.
yeah. I won't. I need to work on that.
And I don't want to
But
give it
anyway,
to you.
that's true. Yeah, yeah. Um, yeah. So anyway, we hope to learn from people who are better than us, like in any facet of life.
Yeah.
Try to learn from people who are better than you, who somebody's been there.
Well, it's a yeah,
So
it's a
anyway,
great it's a great way to get better at just about anything, and skip a
yeah,
few steps, learn from other folks' mistakes and
yeah.
successes. Speaking of better people who are better than us, if you could have any professional's golf swing, who would it
Mhm.
be? Professional golfer. It's not plumber or
Mm,
HVAC guy.
my knee professional. My knee jerk reaction to this for so many years has been Louis Oosthuizen. Um, the dude just it looks like he's not even trying, and I have watched hours of slow motion YouTube videos of his swing, and I can't figure it out. He does nothing that like the common popular uh swing mechanics guys of the day are really striving for people to do. Like he kind of gets his right elbow a little bit behind him on the way down. He looks a little steep, like all these
Mm.
things that today are anathema, like, oh, do you got to be shallow, right?
He doesn't get
um
Scooby.
he's not Scooby,
No.
or whatever the word is for the wet emoji. He's not that, but the dude pounds the ball.
Yeah,
Like,
he hits it far.
he hits it a long way. And I went to one of the first live golf events, and it was up in Oregon where we are. And I went there and I followed him around and watched him hit it. And I just don't understand. It's
Yeah.
amazing. It's a beautiful thing. And I would love to someday have someone say that about me. Like, just, he's pure. I don't know how he
Yeah.
strikes it that well, except for I might be a better putter than Louis, judging by his stats,
Well,
which is
that's
an
cool. Like
absurd
that,
thing to
that
say. I never
not
say something like,
well, actually, you know what though? It's really not because putting is the one statistic where we as the common man can get pretty
yeah,
damn close, if not better than some, like, take Lucas Glover like 4 years ago. I'm a terrible putter and I might have been a better putter than Lucas Glover was like 4 years
fair
ago.
enough.
So,
Well, I
yeah,
only say that because, historically, Louis is a prime ball striker and can get around the course without issue, but it's his putting that's been the thing that kind of held him back over the years. So,
him and
yeah, Louis,
Hideki.
him and him and Hideki.
All right. Last question. Um, Speaking of, talking about your strengths and your weaknesses and alluding to, you knew what you're capable of. You're just not really sure how you're going to get there. How good do you think you can be? Like, what do you think your true ceiling is?
Um, I think, and I feel like everyone answers this question, and it's going to be always probably like slightly higher than what it actually is, but, or, well, that's probably, but that probably shifts depending on how good the golfer is. I feel like
Hmm.
a 20 handicapper thinks that they could be on tour. A 5 handicapper thinks they wouldn't even sniff the mini tour, you know, preliminary qualifying events. It's kind of like the more you know sort of situations.
Right.
But I've been fortunate enough, like I said, to kind of stick around in the game of golf, and I've played with a lot of good golfers who are, legit +5, +6 handicaps. And I know they're better than me, but I've never been like blown away by their game. I've played with guys that bomb it way further than me. That's fine. I still hung around them, you know.
Hmm.
But I've also played with guys who hit it the same as me. We play the same clubs from every shot or from every distance, and they just put it together better.
Hmm.
And you know, so I legitimately think that I could be like a +2 or 3.
Hmm.
Um, the realist in me says, yeah, like I know, like physically, I'm physically capable of hitting the shots uh, of a certain quality to get to that level. It's just a matter of can I figure out the scoring piece. So
Yeah. And that's, I mean, yeah, that's the beauty, like it's not quite dichotomy, but that's kind of the mystery of golf is it's not, this singular event. It's like the culmination of a bunch of little micro events that make up the round. And and to be able to consistently put, those together. Like you said, people who, folks that are good, that are pretty good, if you're a 5 handicap or below, you're in like the top 10% of all players in the world. um, when you get to that level or around that level, you understand how good players are and how difficult it is to play that level, and then take it one step further and add the competitive pressure element. It's like,
yeah,
man, okay, there's something different there. And that's what
yeah,
I know, we're all striving to, or we both are striving to get
for
to.
sure.
So,
Yeah, and I would say
um,
like definitely like tournament scratch, home course, like +2 or 3,
right.
because
Yeah.
that's a whole other thing too. Like, does your game travel and does it show up when it counts? Like
Hmm.
that's a whole different beast. I feel like than just kind of your typical bread and butter handicap system. So
Oh yeah. 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 If you're playing the same course over and over again, you're a manipulator when you're
yeah,
getting
oh yeah,
to, your, those plus handicaps. But yeah, when you have to drive out to Wine Valley to play in, the pub links, you know, at
yeah,
7,100 yards, and it's a different style course than you play, and you got to putt every 2 footer while the wind's blowing. It's like,
Things get
how
shaky.
good are you? That's where you're
That's
going to find
right.
out.
How good am I?
Well, thanks for giving us a little bit of insight into who you are. I'm sure over the next at least 6 weeks, we'll be learning more about each other,
How long we have in the
and
studio?
yeah, and
In my basement.
and
In my
more
basement.
about ourselves. You know,
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
it's a journey of self discovery, um,
And friendship.
and friendship. That's right.
That's all right.
Um, well, hey, thanks so much, everyone, for tagging along with us on this first episode, inaugural episode of the Mid Am podcast. You can actually find us, both of us, collectively on Instagram at Mid Am
Mhm.
Podcast on Instagram. There's not much on there right now, but also right now is not when this is going to be released. So there may be stuff on there when this is released. So don't hold me to it,
It's
but
gonna be the
hope.
it's gonna be the place to be. You should definitely follow
Yeah, it's
along.
the follow of the year 2024. I'm gonna
For
call it.
sure. One of Tyler's 8 Instagram accounts.
That's nice. Speaking of, you can find me on Instagram and TikTok at Fade and Fairway. And as Nathan mentioned previously, you can find him on Instagram at Thistle Leather Goods.
Mhm.
Really, really good head covers and other golf related goodies. So be sure to check that out. Until then, we will chat next week. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.